If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content. What's up, everyone? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrognig, and I have another kind of collection update thing. I'm going to go over my favorites out of the Obscure Domain box that I got, which was a courtesy package from a friend of mine, and again, I thank you for all the cool tunes here. I got 11 CDs out of that, plus 2 kick-ass shirts, and out of the 11, 7 of them I absolutely really got into. So I'm going to go over that. And I also want to say that if you're watching this, it's Friday and we don't have a review up. That's because we couldn't find anything to review in terms of like an early leak or anything like that. So we'll have stuff up for you on Saturday for sure. And we have a couple that I'm definitely super interested in listening to for sure. But for now, I guess this will have to do. And either way, you still got to hear about some cool new music potentially. So started off with Escarnium, covered in Decadence. This is their original EP/demo. In fact, this is actually on a CDR too, which I did not even notice. Now, this was the only band I was really familiar with out of the entire batch. I actually have their full length, which is absolutely awesome as well. This is decidedly more raw, but this is just straight up awesome old school death metal. It's definitely not as blast beat forward as their full length, but this is just really solid old school death metal, definitely in the vein of like Monstrosity, very Floridian, but there's also like hints of stuff that's very reminiscent of like Christian as well. Really enjoyed this. Definitely recommend checking this band out. Check out any of their releases. I think they just have the one full length, and I think this demo, so I may be actually complete in terms of all their stuff. But definitely check them out. They're really good. Ocean of Zero, Graveyard at the Gates. Now, I believe this is this band's only full length as well. It came out in 2015, and this is, again, raw, old school, groovy death metal. Definitely for fans of like Swedish death metal for sure, but it's a little bit kind of murkier, like less entombed, more like Nihilist, in fact. Really a solid listen from front to back. I just love the grimy atmosphere to this. Some pretty solid writing. It's still very meat and potatoes, but there's some really clever hooks in here. Definitely enjoyed this band. I didn't like the demos as much, mostly because the recording was uneven and there are demos, and you can definitely tell that they improved substantially on their full-length release. But this was absolutely killer. Check it out. Torture Throne, Stench of Innocence. Now, this was this band's second EP and their last one, since they broke up not too long after this, which this came out in 2014, and this is on Obscure Domain Records as well as the last one. Some of these came out on some different labels, but this was just awesome Swedish-sounding death metal. They are from France, I believe, but the sound is 100% from Sweden. And I think I actually made mention of that courtesy of the logo. I was like, yeah, it looks like Swedish death metal. And as soon as I put it on, it was like, yep, there's that buzzsaw tone. And this was killer. And night and day from the other one they had. Their first EP was definitely more raw. They had a different vocalist at the time, and honestly, he wasn't as good. And the recording quality wasn't as good. This one, they just pretty much amped everything up to sound like Entombed and Dismember, and man, this was really good. It's a shame these guys aren't around anymore, but yeah, if you're looking around for something fiercely Swedish sounding, but not from Sweden, check this one out. It's really good. Funeral Horror, Step into Damnation. This one didn't come out on Obscure Domain. This was on Chaos Records, and again, this is really cool, old school, groovy death metal. There's a sort of tongue-in-cheek horror vibe on this too. Like there's a song on here called The Bitch Died, Threesome. It's not all super serious in terms of the subject matter, which is really cool because I like the break on it. Really, it kind of reminds me of 6 Feet Under, but I don't really like 6 Feet Under that much. I like their first album, but this was very groove-oriented. The vocals were kind of similar to Chris Barnes, but honestly, I think they were better. That's just me, though. I think Chris Barnes' best vocal work is in Cannibal Corpse. But overall, I really enjoyed this. It's groovy, old-school death metal. Again, like 6 Feet Under or Funerus or even like Jungle Rot. It's very meat and potatoes, but it's really good, and it was a lot of fun to listen to. Check them out. Repent, Disciple of Decline. This one wasn't death metal. I was surprised. It was actually thrash metal. And it's kind of a balance between that, like, early 90s sound of thrash where it was getting a little bit heavier and a little bit more raw, and then like more straight up crossover thrash metal. Some of this on here kind of reminded me of Power Trip, though this came out in 2004. But Overall, I think they have a really good sound. There's a lot of great riffs on here. I think the vocals are a little flat in spots, like they don't really vary much, and I think they kind of needed a little bit more intensity. This band is still around, and they've been around for a while, surprisingly, when I looked them up. And this one didn't come out on Obscure Domain. This one came out on Autopsy Stench Records, but this was really good, and was kind of surprised to see a nice little thrash release in here as well. There's definitely some cool kind of punkish tracks in here too, which I really got into. Definitely check them out. I need to check out some of their other releases, but I'm definitely interested now that I've heard this. Pretty good stuff. Diabolical Imperium, The Sacred Lie. This is another band that unfortunately isn't around anymore either. This was one that did come out on Obscure Domain Records, and this is a nasty three-piece death metal band. And there's like hints of like melodic death, but trust me, when you listen to this, melodic death metal is definitely not what this is. This is very straight up death metal. Again, very Floridian because there's a nice big thrash undertone. Lots of big chuggy riffs. Pretty solid stuff. Like, I don't think the intro and the outro were very necessary because I don't think they really added much to it. But overall, I enjoyed the bulk of this album. There are tons of just insanely heavy moments on here. Really good stuff. Definitely check it out. And finally, we have Volturyon, Blood Cure. This is the one I got the shirt for, and oh my god, this album is absolutely killer. This is probably my favorite out of the batch. This is just nasty, thrashy, just brutally chuggy death metal. I love all the riffs on here. The energy is great. Really remind me a lot of Blood Red Throne, especially on like their first 3 or 4 albums. There wasn't a track on here that I didn't get into, and now I'm going to go have to look for more of their stuff because this is just awesome stuff. This one did come out on Obscure Domain as well, and I'm looking forward to other releases from them now because this is absolutely killer death metal. This is flat out heavier than hell, fast as hell. Oh, man, good stuff. Definitely check out this band, but of course check out all these bands, but this one in particular was my highlight. I absolutely love this album. Alright, well that pretty much covers the most recent boxes I got up until I get a Metalhead box, which hopefully is soon. And of course, Saturday we'll have some reviews up for you, or at least one. Probably one on Sunday too, since we got a little bit behind. But don't worry, they're coming. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. Catch you guys later.